and welcome to Paddock Pass, your pre-race edition for the 2019 Hungarian Grand Prix. The last race of this first part of the season, the race before the summer holidays, and we normally arrive here with that kind of summer holiday vibe, because it's a nice warm race, it's the last one before the holidays. And yet it's 13 degrees colder today than it was in Germany. Normally if it's 13 degrees colder than it is in Germany, it's snowing. But that's just the insanity of the European summer. 28 today, not 41. Mad. Germany had it all, didn't it? It had the incredible temperatures of Thursday, Friday. It had the kind of on and off weather of the Saturday, and then it just had the rain on and off all day on the Sunday. And a great race. Another win for Red Bull and Honda. Max Verstappen doing incredibly well. Then Kvyat on the podium. Sebastian Vettel on the podium. It was a real feel-good race. And on the weekend where they were celebrating their 125th year in motorsport, their 200th Formula One Grand Prix, Mercedes had a nightmare. Toto Wolff, leaving the track on Sunday night, said they, allowed themselves to get too carried away with things, and maybe their focus wasn't properly on it. And I think in hindsight, you could look at that and say, you know what? Sometimes you just roll the dice and you get it wrong. And that was one of those occasions. Look, if the guy who won the race, as we said on Sunday, could have a spin, make 5 pit stops and still win the race, it was a day when you couldn't predict it. You couldn't prescribe it on your algorithms that you've written for strategy. It just was. And very often, if you made that first call wrong, you were sort of out of sync and out of kilter for the rest of the afternoon. And that's the way it went for some people. Lewis Hamilton was ill for the whole of the last weekend, really wasn't himself. He said he's slept pretty much solidly for the last 3 days and arrives here a little bit reinvigorated, feeling a little bit better. Has spoken with the team, they've had their debrief. He said the most important thing is communication between all the parts of the team, so that they don't allow the issues that they saw in Germany to creep back in. If Valtteri's struggling at one point of the circuit, he wants to know. Lewis spun at a part of the circuit, Valtteri needs to know. Those kind of things, they need better processes. Still, the mighty world champions with things to learn, and that's what that kind of race I think teaches somebody like Mercedes. Did I say McLaren then, or did I say Mercedes? Can't remember. I'm talking too much. Should we throw to an interview? Let's do that. Valtteri Bottas, who was looking great for a podium. Toto Wolff said he threw away 18 points for definite in Germany. He should have cut that gap back into Lewis Hamilton. He didn't. And at the time of the season, when we are talking about contract renewal, we are looking at Valtteri Bottas' potential future or otherwise with Mercedes. Was that the worst mistake at the worst time?
Yeah, for sure it was not ideal in terms of that, but it happens. Unfortunately, it was a mistake that happened at the wrong time. But yeah, I was obviously trying hard, pushing hard, which is also what the team wants to see. But I don't think one mistake or one race is going to change anything. Or even I think that's my mindset coming here. I should really not think about it. I need to perform at my best and focus on that. I know I can do well, so I try to do that this weekend. And obviously, then it's a lot up to the team with the decision, and then we see. But no stress, just full gas.
Niki Lauda always said you learn more from defeat than you do from victory, and I'm sure Mercedes, who's still missing his presence, will feel those words ever more so right now than they have done before. Chastened perhaps by the results of the German Grand Prix, but if they're going to swing back anywhere, got to think it's here. They look frighteningly good at the moment in the sort of the slow medium speed corners. This could be a circuit that suits them down to the ground. Will it be a circuit, however, that suits these guys down to the ground? Traditionally it has been. At the start of the season, Helmut Marko said we're going to win 5 races this year, and everyone thought he was a bit batty. They're 2 race wins in, and they're not even at the halfway point of the season. Mad. Great weekend for Max Verstappen, not quite so good for Pierre Gasly. He'd had a good race right up until the end when he just had that moment with the Toro Rosso of, I think it was Albon, and did his front left tyre in. So disappointment for him after what had been a really promising couple of weekends. Let's talk to both of them. Max Verstappen, race winner, and to Pierre Gasly, who's had a bit of good news this week, and a bit of a kind of a validation and certainly maybe an easing of the stresses. As Dr. Helmut Marko has said, there will be no driver changes at Toro Rosso or Red Bull Racing until the end of the season.
Yeah, good qualifying with the 4th place. quite chaotic race. So yeah, not ideal at the start. We lost position, then unlucky pit stop. So yeah, in 3 laps I went from best starting position to P last, and everything to do again. But yeah, we came back from 19th to P6. Only I think two places from Seb in front in the last 10 laps. So yeah, I think there was clearly an opportunity to get there. Fortunately, it didn't work out. But I think what's most important is that we can see things are coming together, and I'm sure if we keep pushing that way, we'll get the reward pretty soon.
How important was getting a handle on the car before Hockenheim to allow you to actually keep control of the thing in the wet?
I mean, that was the key in Hockenheim to stay on track. We saw it, and in these conditions, it's really tricky. A lot of unpredictable things, and I've never experienced something like it. Like safety cars, sometimes slick tires on the wet, sometimes wet on the dry. Like it was just insane from the first lap till the last one. So I think we did pretty well to stay until the end to recover 12, 13 positions. But just a bit annoying not to be able to go until the end and score big points.
Obviously, Helmut Marko saying that everything's cool till the end of the year. Did you always know that it was going to be good to the end of the year? Was everything just being blown out of all proportion in the press?
Well, I think it was a bit blown out. It's like this, in this world, so there's nothing I can control. People do have the right to say whatever they want, whether it's true or false, but what's important is what's discussed between Helmut and myself, and also Christian, and things have been always clear, so I don't have anything to mention.
At the start of this season, Helmut Marko said he was expecting 5 wins for the year. I think a lot of people thought that was quite a lot, but you're 2 down, and we're not even at the summer break. Has that surprised you?
I spoke to him about that, and I was like, Helmut, it's quite optimistic. 5 victories in the first year working together with Honda, because at the end of the day, you have to get to know each other more, and you learn more and more every single race together. But as soon as we won the first one, then of course Helmut was like, I think we can get to 5, and I was like, okay, well, it's not bad to have won 1, and then of course now we won 2. So knowing that normally in the second half we improve even more with updates to the car, it's possible, I think. But hopefully we can just close the gap to Mercedes and even Ferrari. Of course, in qualifying they're still very fast, to always be there, because then you have a lot more opportunity to win it. But at the end of the day, there are 21 races. I want to win all 21, so not just 5. But we are working on it, and I think we are getting better every race weekend.
Bottas is well within your sights in the championship now. A lot of people are asking after Germany if you guys are in the championship hunt in a fight with Lewis.
I don't know. What I said to myself before the season started was I just need to be really consistent and risk it when you need to, but don't be crazy about it. And I think so far it's really paying off, because every race weekend you have been scoring good amount of points. Of course, 2 victories were good, but even when we were not winning, we were scoring good points. So you just have to keep doing that. And if other people are, around you make mistakes, then of course you move up quite quickly, and then it looks suddenly like really positive. But still I think Mercedes is the dominant team, and we still need to work hard to catch them.
Can you be competitive with them this weekend?
I hope so. It's not guaranteed, because it's still, you need to find a good setup as well on the car. But we'll definitely give it a try.
Spoken to Mercedes, spoken to Red Bull. What about Ferrari? And who do we talk to? Charles? Hello, Charles.
Hello.
How are you? You all right? All good, how are you? All good. Really disappointed. Obviously, after that race in Germany, a small mistake that led to the little slip across that ice rink, shall we say, at the final corner. Let's touch on that, because Charles talked about it on social media, had said that he didn't like that part of the track. Some of the drivers today have spoken about that little bit of runoff there, because it's not like normal runoff. You normally have asphalt at Ricard, you have the high abrasion runoff. There it's the start of a drag strip. The start of the drag strip is a lot of rubber basically is laid down on that part of the track to give the dragsters grip as they fly off the line. So if you imagine all of that rubber and then the water that goes down on top of that, it's just you're on the slippery surface. If you imagine that the rubbered-in line on the racetrack is the line that the race drivers try to avoid when they're on the track for that very reason, taking the karting lines, the offline route, to have that accentuated then in the runoff meant as soon as you hit it, you were a passenger and you were sliding off either into the barrier and out of the race, or if you were lucky, bouncing off the barrier and coming back on. I don't think he blamed that for his exit. He made the mistake and he's fully aware of that. But certainly something which I think a lot of people were unhappy with. Whether it matters or not is a moot point. Chances are we aren't going back to Hockenheim, so is what it is. Let's talk to Seb. 20th to 2nd. What a race. And does that give him confidence going forward that Ferrari can pull it all back together either here this weekend or into that second half of the season and make good on the promise which has so far been unfulfilled?
Not really. I think, we are working obviously on the car. We are trying to improve where it's weak. Obviously, if you take it very simple, then we've been strong in the straights. We've been weak in the corners. I think Hockenheim suited our car quite well in the dry conditions. I think the hot conditions probably gave us a little bit more. So it was, in a way, a shame to lose those on Saturday. But I think overall mostly that is because we made some progress in the corners. So we still lost some time, but not as much as maybe some weeks or months before. That is positive. But as I said, there's still a lot of points where we're behind. We're not the quickest in the corners, which is the target. So we need to work on that. But maybe that explains why it was good. Plus, the real answer you would have gotten on in qualifying, because we've seen many times that in practice we seem to do things differently and be more competitive than others in comparison.
And to think, people were questioning Sebastian Vettel's future in Formula One. What a great drive from him in Germany. Now on Sunday night after the race, everybody packs up. It's a back-to-back, which means they have to get on the road, drive everything down to Hungary. The Renault F1 team involved in a traffic accident on the way here. One of the trucks left the road. Driver was injured, went to hospital. He's back at home now, though, recovering from his injury, so wish him a speedy recovery. Nothing was damaged, however, quite incredibly, so the team is operating as it should be. So good news all around in what looked to be quite a scary moment. It wasn't a great German Grand Prix for Renault. Daniel Ricciardo retiring early on. We spoke to him and he said he was watching the race on the TV, bouncing up and down, absolutely loving it. He didn't have a clue what was going on either. Apart from the fact that it looked like Nico Hulkenberg was finally going to break his duck and get a podium. Daniel said he was gutted, obviously, for the team when Nico retired from the race, crashing out down at that final corner. And what about Nico? I've known Nico a very long time, and rarely have I seen him quite as emotional as he was this afternoon. That one really hurt.
Too much, yeah. Not a good moment. Last few days been fairly tough and tricky, as you can imagine. Very bitter moment, hard to swallow. I mean, I drove the wheels of it the 40 laps before. That was really, really good, and very proud of the driving that I produced there. But then, it all comes down to that one moment when I just lose the back end a little bit. I come next to the track. And whilst I'm a fan of, we need hard rules with track limits and a driver should pay a penalty when he goes offline, but I also feel what we experienced in the last corner in Hockenheim is not normal. It's not the usual standard of F1, because the runoff area there was not the normal tarmac. It was painted, or I don't know what it was actually, but it was zero grip. And as a driver, once you touched that, you had no control over the car, and it was kind of a random, element added to the race. And I obviously was the guy that the biggest victim, paid the biggest price. And I feel in a way, that it took the race and the result from us, which is very frustrating. But any other track, any other corner, usually you would drive off and back on, losing maybe 1-2 seconds, but not paying the price that we had to pay.
Do you ever question if it's going to happen, or if you're, I don't want to say cursed, but do you ever have that moment of doubt where you look at it and say, Jesus Christ, what have I got to do?
Well, I'm not even saying, I think it's highly speculative if it would have been a podium or not, because I was fourth in that moment, and you see in a race with crazy circumstances like this, nothing is guaranteed. We were running and looking really strong up to that point. I don't know what it ultimately would have been, but I think we could have scored a lot of points and had a really good result on that day. So that's really the most frustrating thing. I'm not even thinking too much about the podium there, but it's just the way it happened and the circumstances, because it's kind of why this surface was like this there, and the mistake I had maybe, or I faced, and then the price we pay are completely out of proportion, I feel.
Reset this weekend, hopeful?
Yeah, I think we'll be kind of back to normal. The midfield is really tight, really competitive. Probably we're fighting 8 to 10 cars. Small margins make the difference, like as we've seen in quali in Hockenheim. So important to get it all together again. It's good that we're back in the car and on track tomorrow. We'll take the mind of Hockenheim, have to regroup, refocus, and just drive it.
And in the middle of silly season, saw a good one this week. Nico Hulkenberg to Formula E with Porsche.
Yeah, I heard that a lot recently. It's not true.
Still here next year?
Yes.
If it was a disappointing weekend for Renault and for Nico Hulkenberg, actually a positive weekend for Haas. Both cars in the points, despite the fact that one was running Melbourne spec, Romain Grosjean, one was running the most up-to-date, and that was Kevin Magnussen. But the two drivers made contact again. Questions to answer, or are there? We're going to speak to both drivers now about that weekend in Germany, about what was learned, about what they're hoping to learn this weekend as well. And also about the fact they do keep making contact at a point at which we are looking to the future. We are looking at driver changes potentially for next year. Are they safe? Are they not? A lot of questions to be answered down here at Haas.
Yeah, it was a very tricky race on Sunday in Hockenheim, but probably one of the best Formula One race for a long time. So I guess that was really good. We survived, and at the end we got lucky with the Alfa Romeo being disqualified, getting a 30 seconds penalty. Let's see what the appeal brings. But obviously finishing 7th and 8th when we know the car we've had, it's pretty good. So that is good just before the summer break. Maybe again this weekend, let's hope we can qualify well and then hang in there in the race. It's difficult to overtake, so maybe one of the race where we can actually use the qualifying pace of the car.
2 race weekends, you've had the Melbourne spec car. Silverstone, you didn't get the race data because you guys came together. In Hockenheim, did you manage to get any usable sort of race data given the conditions, or do you actually need just a normal weekend now for a better level of understanding?
No, I think we're getting there. We're getting there. I think even with what we had in Silverstone, we had a lot of data, obviously not the race, but it's not where you got the most sensor on the car. It's on Friday, so the guys now are looking into it. They really have. I think we've got an understanding now of what's wrong, and I know they're going back in the wind tunnel for 2 sessions, and hopefully solving that problem that we can see. For a long time, it wasn't clear to anyone what was happening, except for the drivers, because I asked to revert back to Melbourne spec on Friday night in Barcelona. And I know it's clear that it's something on the new specs that is not working as good as it should. So really, the key is to improve that situation. I think it was a good eye opener, and the feeling in the good old lady is still very good. So happy with that.
Got the good old lady this weekend?
We got the good old lady for the weekend, yes.
Excellent stuff. Good old ladies carry handbags. Bit of handbags between you and Kevin over a couple of races. It's a British race, sort of hitting each other with your handbags. Everything good between you two?
It's just love, brother. Yeah. Bit of a kiss never killed anyone. No, the relationship, as a lot of people are asking, so what's happening with your teammate? The relationship is really good, and we fun each other once a week, and we get on very well, actually. Obviously, I love Kevin for his Viking spirit and the fact that he always fights, and you can see when he's in front of you, he's closing the doors and fighting with guys wheel to wheel, and you're like, yeah, he's defending his position. I like it. Maybe when it gets to teammate action, we just need to move down the cursor a little bit, and make sure that we don't get some more kisses.
What car have you got this weekend?
I think it's gonna be a black and gold one.
Yeah, but is it like Germany spec? Is it like Silverstone spec? Is it a Hungary spec? Or is it the Melbourne spec that Roman had last time?
No, he has that, and I have what I ran in Hockenheim.
Okay. Yeah. Happy about that?
Well, I mean, we can't say we're happy about the situation right now. The car is pretty inconsistent. Once in a while it works brilliantly, but the window is so narrow that it only happens very, very rarely. And we've got to try and understand that problem, and that's why I'm sticking with this car to try and learn. And we know the old car is easier to drive and probably more consistent, but there is a lot of potential in the car that I have, this upgraded one, that we would like to unlock. So, you know, it's a bummer a little bit. You know, I'd like to go with the good car, but, you know, I'm also you know, here to do what's best for the team, and, you know, I'll get the best out of what I have anyway.
Talking about what's best for the team, it's in all the headlines. Another contact in the race. Roman said to us earlier he loves watching you race. He loves your defensive drive and your aggressive driving style until it comes to when you guys are side by side. Does anything need to change in the way that you two fight each other when you are fighting each other?
I think at the end of the day, if you look at it, you know, there's been the times that we've had contact have actually been really small and incidental. Not, you know, like we saw with Force India a few years ago, where they were, you know, firing each other into the walls and damaging the cars every other race, and, you know, that was really bad. And I think what we have had was unfortunate and, you know, avoidable, but nonetheless pretty unlucky to have such a big consequence as we had in Silverstone, where both of us DNF'd from such a small contact. And, you know, there's no bad blood between us, so that's the unfortunate and annoying thing about this thing, that it's getting blown out of proportions and portrayed as if we are, you know, at war with each other, and you know, the real story is that we actually get on with each other and phone each other between the races and text, and, you know, actually we have a good time when we go to work. And it's a bit funny to see these things, but also a little bit annoying to be answering these questions.
The positivity at McLaren continues. Okay, only one car saw the flag in Germany, but it did so in 5th place. Carlos Sainz, though, was not happy on the radio when he crossed the line, feeling a podium went begging.
I regret a bit being so disappointed, you know, because it was such a great race and such a good recovery after that tough spin. Always we did the right choices with the right call with the tires, and that allowed us to be P4 or P5 before that last safety car. And when you think about it, it would have been quite crazy to, from P4 or P5, to stop to put a dry tire in the middle of a safety car that drops you to last. So thinking about it, I think everything was done correctly. It was that we just got caught out by two cars that took a big risk, and it paid off. But we still finished third of those who didn't pit, so a mini podium.
Enjoy the mini podium. There's the other World Championship, aside from the top 3 teams. How happy are you to find yourself leading that as we go to the summer break?
Yeah, very happy, especially because you see how tight the midfield is. When you see in Hockenheim there were 8 cars within half a tenth, and it just shows how tight everything is. But somehow we are managing, myself together with McLaren, to make a good job on Sundays and keep scoring points, while the others are not as consistent as we are. And every race since Baku we've been on it, you know. It was a tough start to the season, the first 3 races, with quite a lot of unlucky situations, but since Baku everything has gone the right way.
And this is it, you're on such a roll right now. Do you want the summer break to happen, or do you want to wish you were sort of carrying on racing?
Honestly, I could race next week, no problem. Energy levels are high, motivation is high, positivity inside the team is high, so I could keep racing, but I think it's healthy that everyone takes 2 or 3 weeks off, you know, like we're going to take all the mechanics, every engineer that has been working extremely hard. You know, it's time for everyone to rest and come back even stronger than what we are now.
Rewind 12 months, and this team wasn't called that. It was Force India, and Sergio Perez had just put into motion the wheels that led to the team going into administration. It was a tough weekend for the team, for all the boys and girls working on the cars, for the drivers, for management, for everybody, really. But what it led to was the rebirth of the team as we know it now as Racing Point. We came back from the summer break, and it was all new, but it's taken until now, 12 months later, for it all to gel, for the investment to start to pay off, those upgrades in Germany making a huge difference. Perez, we spoke to him today. He was really actually quite emotional about the journey the team's been on over the last year. His role in that as well, because he bore the brunt of responsibility for initiating those administration proceedings. So it was a really heavy thing. Lots of questions about is he going to go somewhere else? Where's he looking? And he loves this place, and he's really at home here. And the fact that it was him that launched that proceeding was in essence to save the team. He has such a lot of heart for this place, and it's probably no surprise to learn that he has said today he's hopeful of re-signing with the team. It should be a multi-year continuation of their deal, and it's basically pretty much there. Just needs dot the I's, cross the T's, get it done. And so by the time we come back from the summer break, that should all theoretically be done. Let's talk though to Lance Stroll, whose father obviously led the consortium that saved the team, that pulled it out of administration and brought it to where it is now. He came home that close to a podium in Germany. A wonderful run from him, making good on the promise, the potential of the new upgraded package and of himself as well. There is a very good racing driver that exists within Lance Stroll, and it's days like we had in Germany where he really comes to the fore.
Yeah, it's a bit emotional to be honest, to come back here. Yesterday I flew in and I remember everything, what happened, what was going on that weekend. Was one of the hardest weekend I ever experienced as a person and as a driver. It was a lot of pressure on my shoulders, but I feel very proud of that decision because where the team is now, with the future that it has now, it's a lot thanks to that decision. So I'm pretty pleased with that, and looking forward for a great future because I think we've done good steps and there is a lot to come from us.
It always takes such a long time for everything to go through the system. The upgrades that came at the last race, possibly the thing that you needed right from the very start of the season. How big a leap was it?
Yeah, it was quite good. I think that was a good step forwards. We just have to look ahead, and I think there is a lot of improvement that we can do with the package still. So hopefully this weekend it's a very different track, and generally this track is very bad to us. I remember last year I think was probably one of the worst weekends as a team, and then we went to Spa and I finished fourth. So we'll see what we can do here. Ideally some points will be good here.
And more upgrades this weekend as well?
Some mechanical updates. Something to try, so that hopefully can suit a bit better the car.
Ah yes, that famous Swiss company, Alfa Romeo. Of course, we all know. Still based in Hinwil, and obviously run sort of out of Sauber. Is it National Swiss Day? My knowledge has holes in it. that yeah. That's pretty. Steve's actually laughing at that. Sorry. Anyway, happy Switzerland Day. It's Swiss Day, right? Happy Swiss Day, Switzerland. Lived there for 2 years, loved the place. Great people, great cheese, great chocolate, great wine, actually. They don't export much, they keep it all for themselves. Blimmin' good, if you ever try a Swiss wine. We're rambling, we're off topic. Alfa, both cars in the points in Germany, but no points on the board. The stewards deciding afterwards that ultimately the map that the drivers used at the start was not the map they should have been using. So some suggestion that it was altered in order to give them better grip off the line in the wet conditions. Ultimately there was an anomaly between the clutch, a biting point and throttle application as to what the FIA had on its systems as the map that they had used in qualifying. So Alfa have appealed. So it's not over just yet. Let's talk to Antonio Giovinazzi, though. Had a great run to the points until it was taken away. Really just on his first wet race experience, what he learned, whether he enjoyed it, really, because it is something so unique, so different for a rookie to experience their first F1 race in the wet.
It was really tough. It was really difficult race. A lot of changing during the race, wet to intermediate to slick, then back to intermediate, then slick again. So it was really tough, and was actually the main thing was to survive there, to don't make mistake. And I think and then I think we did a great job. The team was able to put 2 cars in top 10. Unfortunately, we got the penalty, and it's not good for us because we did the maximum. But we'll see what will be with the appel we did, and I hope, cross finger, we can take back what we achieved Sunday.
Talk to us about Sunday night, the joy of a double point score for the team in such difficult conditions, and then the heartbreak of having it taken away.
Yeah, I know it's a moment, for sure it's not an easy moment, but happen, and we need to just now understand why happened, and but now I want just turn page, focus already in Budapest, new weekend, and luckily it's only 3 days after that moment, so we can turn really easy the page and have again a good result on Sunday.
How good is the car in dry conditions? How good do you think it'll be around this track?
I think it's a track with a lot of downforce, and I think compare like where we had the downforce was Silverstone or Red Bull, we were always quite fast. So I'm quite positive. We have also a small upgrade also here, so I think we will be again really close again like the last few races. But we will give the best already on Saturday to have a good qualifying, because then it's a lot more easy to be in front on Sunday.
Toro Rosso, what can we say? A brilliant run in Germany last time out. Alex Albon said he was, it was his first wet race in Formula One, and he really enjoyed it, got to grips with it really quickly, and could possibly have fought for the podium. Arguably was one of the drivers, inarguably actually was one of the drivers of the day, and so close. But P6 for him at the flag, a phenomenal result. Even better though, Danny Kvyat on the podium, in 3rd place on the day that he became a dad. It's a lovely full circle story for a guy who really has been through the ringer. I said he's been to hell and back, and he has, from an emotional standpoint, getting dropped by Red Bull to Toro Rosso, getting dropped by Toro Rosso after that, the downward spiral, and the genuine soul crushing of a career being taken away from you, when really a lot of us hadn't thought he'd done all that much wrong. It was awful to see, but he went away, he rebuilt himself, he spent a bit of time as a Ferrari sim driver, and the guy that came back to Formula One was rebuilt and knew who he was and was more assured, and lovely to see it all come together in Germany at the track where it had really started to come unstuck for him 3 years earlier as a new dad. Just a really honestly decent, genuinely feel-good story.
It's so special, the feeling, of course, but I'm so used to talk about just the racing to the cameras that I don't know what to say to you, to be honest. It's different. Of course, it's amazing, it's great, all the beautiful words you can find, but it's better for me to talk about racing on the camera.
Get too emotional otherwise. Congratulations though, man, good times, and an amazing time in Hockenheim, a great race. When did you feel it start to come to you?
I think what was very important is to make a mistake-free race in a race where everyone was making plenty, and I think I can't remember any costly mistake from my side the whole race, and it was very important to keep your head cool together with the team, and to be in the game always somewhere near there, and eventually the track dried out enough for the slick tires, and we took I made a call, to be honest, but I was backed from the team for that, to go on slicks, and it was a great decision. It brought us the podium in the end.
First podium for 11 years for the team. How much does it mean to everybody at Faenza?
I think everyone was extremely happy. I heard everyone during the race and just after the race. It was very fired up, and it's so cool for me to see happiness on the faces of the team members, on mechanics who work so hard, engineers, and the top management as well. Everyone was so happy, including myself. It was a very special period after the race.
And you've been through an amazing journey yourself. You look back 3 years, Hockenheim was where it all really started to unravel. And the personal journey to have got back there, what did it mean to you to be back up on the podium where you deserve to be?
Yes, it was hard work. It didn't just happen in Germany. It was a lot of hard work that started a bit since I knew about my comeback to Formula One. Having a year off obviously helped to me to regain my passion for the sport, and having been outside Formula One for a year and then coming back and getting podium so fast, also not being in the top team because it's hard for us to take a podium. We really grabbed our opportunity, and we really all deserve it because we worked hard for it and we took bold decisions in the right time.
And finally today we come to Williams. We've discussed it before, we don't end with Williams because we don't have anything to say. It's because they're at the bottom of the paddock and that's just the way the dice rolls. But we do have a lot to say. Today, upgrades at the German Grand Prix proved pretty good actually. But unfortunately everybody else made a big step forward as well, which didn't allow the upgrades to show quite as much as they could have done. And also they're very fragile, something the team is wary of. But with that in mind, the race itself was one of those days, lottery. And the team has brought both cars to the flag at every race, and ultimately that's what you need to do. With the Alfas receiving 30-second penalties after the race, Williams are in the points. Robert Kubica, 8 years and 8 months after his last Formula One points, the driver of car number 88. What are the chances? A Formula One point again. I believe it's the longest gap between point scoring in F1 history. I believe so. Although if I've said that and it's wrong, I'm sure that will be pointed out in the comments. Obviously. Anyway, brilliant result for the team. We're going to talk to Robert about what it means to him, to the team, all of that hard work. Yes, it's only a point, but it's what it represents in terms of where the team's come from, the work they've put in, and the reward, the recognition of the effort that point represents.
Well, I think, definitely you have to be in the finish line in order to score. This is what actually we did. Our approach and my approach was very clear from beginning, and I think it was right with the situation we are. We have to play it safe, and it was very chaotic race. So we take advantage of mistakes of the others, and additionally we take advantage of Alfa being penalized. So somehow we managed to score point, which is good boost, I think, for a team. Definitely. It's for the hard work the guys in the garage are doing. It is really not easy situation for the driver, but also for everyone in the team. And although we have to stay realistic, it's still better to have 1 point than 0.
This is it. For you, 1 point might not be a huge thing. You're used to podiums and race victories, but given what you and the team have been through this year, what does that point mean?
Well, as you said, you have to realize realistically what is going on, and I think we have fits on the ground, so we really feel like it had come from as a surprise, but we also appreciate it. But not only in the end. I think no one was thinking they will be able to score point, and definitely in normal conditions we are too far off from the pack. But still, racing is racing, and until you don't cross check a flag, you never know what will happen. So in this time, it happened even after the race with Alfa and the steward's decision. But that's racing.
Moving on, you had an upgrade package last time, admittedly very fragile, but the upgrade package itself, was it promising? Was it a step in the right direction? And does it give you hope and promise for the future?
Yeah, I think unfortunately we were a bit compromised with running it, and probably it was not as smooth or easy start as we thought. But there is some I think positive things. We'll still evaluate it here in Hungary, and then hopefully have a clearer vision. But on the other hand, F1 we know is a tough business. Other teams are pushing, and I think actually in Hockenheim there were some teams which make even bigger step than we did. And this is always a difficult part of Formula 1, that you can make a step forward, but if the others are making it, you will stay always same gap. So we have to, what we can do is keep pushing. Definitely, this is the last race before summer break, so summer break will help because the guys are doing an amazing job in the garage. So we'll recharge battery and hopefully we'll get some improvements in the second half of the season.
So that is your lot from Paddock Pass pre-race here in Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix 2019. Will Mercedes bounce back? Can Red Bull make it 2 on the trot? How about Ferrari? And what about the midfield battle? How's that all going to shape up this weekend? And can Williams make good on those upgrades that certainly showed promise in Germany and cut that gap back to the rest of the field? Can't wait. Always enjoy it here. It's the weather's always great. The atmosphere is always fantastic. As we say, it is that last race before the summer holidays. It has that last day of school vibe to it. The races, for that reason, can be a little bit mad sometimes. You know what last day of school's like. Everyone's a bit giddy. Anyway, thank you for watching. Join us over the weekend, but for now, from us, that's your lot.